They are to be lauded for what they said, but words are not enough. As a lawyer, as a defense attorney, as a person who began his career as a prosecutor in Brooklyn, New York, I say, after looking at those videos, we need to invoke the criminal law. Mike Schmidt, who will be taking office as district attorney in Multnomah County, in the building across the street and then in the new monstrosity on the river, should take a look, should convene a grand jury. Billy Williams, the U.S. attorney who works in this building, should convene a grand jury. It is not enough to allow an internal investigation by one of the federal law enforcement agencies to conduct an investigation and then say, oh, okay, we're satisfied. As with the law enforcement officers who killed George Floyd, nothing in the law immunizes federal agents in Portland from criminal prosecution. There's an obligation, as I see it, on the chief law enforcement officers, the district attorney, and the United States attorney to act. If crimes have been committed, the rule of law, that to which I've given my life, can only be vindicated, and we can all only be kept safe if indictments are brought. Violence. We have seen, some of us have felt a lot of violence. We all need to bear in mind, I say, that violence begets violence. And we should all be asking, who wants the violence that we are seeing here in Portland? Who does it benefit? Does it benefit the Black Lives Matter movement? Does it benefit Antifa? Does it benefit white supremacists? Does it benefit Donald Trump? And we need to ask that question as we leave here this peaceful protest and think about what happens in Portland at night and who is actually benefiting from that. As we leave here this peaceful protest and think about what happens in Portland at night and who is actually benefiting from that. Every elected official, every public system stakeholder, every community advocate should urge our local prosecutors to make clear that lawless behavior, whether by violent protesters and by those charged with enforcing the law, will be addressed under the rule of law. Thanks for being here. Keep your voices strong.
I stand before you today humbly with these colleagues of mine who have been at this courthouse many times over the last 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. I think Dr. Leroy Haynes, our colleague with the AMA Coalition for Justice and Police Reform, Dr. Leroy Haynes, Joyce Harris, Joanne Hardesty, one of our lawyers, Ashley Albies. We've been in this courthouse many times on police reform as the city has tried to get out of doing anything to train. I'm Reverend Dr. Mark Knudsen, pastor of Augustana Lutheran Church in Northeast Portland, a multicultural, multinational sanctuary congregation of justice seekers and peacemakers who are responsible to give ourselves away. 21 nations of first birth outside of this country and 30 tribal nations represented in our congregation. I stand here humbly because my wife and I met 40 years ago in Portland. We've lived in other parts of the country, but we met 40 years ago. She comes from a strong African-American family that grew up on 13th and Wygant. Our son at 28 is studying economics because he knows there's still an uncashed check in this country for black and brown people that has to be cashed and honored. I have 18 nieces and nephews, 11 African American, 7 white. They've been helping to organize and march, and I've been to enough marches to see they're peaceful, they're strong, and they're going to change this nation. We're in a moment of time, a Kairos moment, where we cannot stop. To the elected leaders, to the ones back in D.C., I can't really name them because I just don't have. Isaiah Micah the prophet said, God shall judge between many peoples and shall arbitrate among strong nations far away. They shall beat their swords into plowshares, their spears into pruning hooks. I might add their ARs and their shields and other weapons into things that can be used for usefulness. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall we study war anymore.
It said, but everyone should live under their own fig tree and vine, and no one should make them afraid. 12 million people are afraid of being deported in this country. Our indigenous sisters and brothers have been afraid of genocide since people stepped on this country from Europe. African Americans enslaved for over 400 years because even though slavery changed, Jim Crow didn't, prison systems didn't. For faith leaders and other people of goodwill to stand out here, this is not new to us. Muslim and Jew, Hindu and Buddhist, Sikh, Native American spiritual leaders, Christians, other people of faith, and people of just goodwill who refuse to give up. I am so proud of all the young people marching and all the black and brown leaders who have taken the lead, but we're calling upon everybody to get up and march. Because violence begets violence. I did my first marches as a child. My mom took me to hear Stokely Carmichael, and I had to start marching. I heard the vice president-to-be who was doing a law and order shtick, and I found out those who preach law and order are always breaking the laws. They should be in prison. When we talk about indictments, let's get back to D.C. and do some more of that. Too often, violence we have to denounce. I'm wearing my yellow mask today because about 4 months ago, we gathered with young black and brown leaders at De La Salle North High School who said, we have to end violence, so let's all start wearing yellow on Fridays. These young leaders are calling for violence to end then, but too often, the violence we've gathered to stand against, well, mass shootings, of course, violence against the LGBTQ community, violence against immigrants, violence against black and brown people. But the violence we so often have to stand against is that by this nation. The violence perpetrated by the governments. The violence perpetrated by police forces that were built on racist and white supremacy ideologies. I'm supposed to take no more than 5 minutes. I think I'm about 3.5. I'm almost done. Today I stand with my colleagues to demand that federal troops, agents, and provocateurs deployed by this corrupt, this corrosive, this cowardly and violent government be removed from this city and state now. As a sanctuary congregation since 1996, when Francisco Aguirre moved in for 3 months to be housed, not to be deported, Homeland Security circled our church every day in unmarked vehicles. We know the fear they cause, but they were ready to snatch him if he got anywhere outside that church. And we know that's going on right now in this city against black and brown people, and it must stop this very moment. These agents have committed violence against peaceful protesters. Who have every constitutional right to protest, so keep on protesting. But to everyone in this nation, of every background, it's your moral obligation to protest against something that is so evil in this land. "400 years of slavery, genocide, white supremacy ideology, and white privilege and institutions built on that, they cannot stand. They must be changed and transformed and taken down and new things done in terms of community health and well-being. To this administration back in Washington, D.C., you do not matter. Black lives matter. You do not matter. Black Lives Matter. You who would deploy troops against your own people. You who would wave a Bible in front of a church and you don't even know what's in it. Because if you knew what was in it, Mr. Trump, I'll say your name, of course. If you knew what was in it, you would know that God gets angry when leaders trample on people. You would know that God calls leaders who are corrupt and doing evil things against people are called to rend their clothing, to put on sackcloth, to get down on their knees in the square and beg for forgiveness and mercy. And Mr. President, if you don't have any sackcloth available to the other leaders of this land who are not acting, I know a lot of friends, Jewish and Muslim and Hindu and Buddhist, we've got sackcloth for you. We'll help you strip down, get on your knees, and now let's work for a new day. You know, Micah said everyone should be able to sit in their own vine and victory. I know to make them afraid. But you know, Micah also said, do justice, love kindness, walk humbly with God. And with one another. Let's do justice. Let's do justice. Let's do justice. Bless you all. Thank you.
They need to stop lying to us people. They not even here at night. Where are y'all when we need y'all? Come undercover like
calls leaders who are corrupt and doing evil things against people are called to rend their...
All y'all look around. Y'all got masks on to stop this pandemic. What mask do I have to stop this bigotry and racism? They can't be child plants.
My name is Ty Carpenter, and I am the president of Don't Shoot Portland. Teresa Rayford is also my mother. And I just want to say, I didn't come here to listen to a sermon. There's no such thing as fucking peaceful protest. That is an exercise. That is an exercise in all lives matter bullshit. And it's not going to stand. There is no peaceful protest. We are being fucking murdered. Okay? You're speaking to a new generation. So you need to talk like it. You need to talk like it. Peaceful fucking protest. So, just like all of y'all, we know this has been happening for the past 50 nights. The only difference is that y'all are finally paying attention.
Finally.
This violence has been happening against us every night. And before George Floyd, PPB has a major fucking problem with white supremacy. That is what it is. That is what it is, point blank. If you want to know the problem, it lies in the city of Portland. This is exactly what they want. And you cannot condemn the actions of Donald Trump's federal troops when you didn't denounce the actions of PPB. We had to file a lawsuit. And what did you do? You continued. You continued. I've seen the live streams. People's masks getting snatched off and tear gas straight in the face. I've seen the vans rolling up and taking people.
Talking about for the people. Where are y'all when we need y'all?
Stop killing us. We need more than statements. We need fucking change. And we can only do so much as a non-profit organization, but our elected officials, y'all have that power for a reason. We can't do as much as you. You killing us. You fucking killing us. Black Lives Matter, fuck a peaceful protest. Thank you.
afternoon. My name is David Anthony, and I'm here to be a voice and to be an active protester and to do whatever the fuck it takes to get it done.
I've been here for 50 days, 50 nights.
I've been here for 50 days, 50 nights, and I've seen absolutely things that you would never imagine or couldn't imagine. I mean, I know the news puts out a lot of stuff out there and whatnot, and you guys see a lot of social media pictures and everything, and what it's like to be out here to actually experience it. It grabs your heart and it holds you, and you can't leave until something changes. So many people have given up their jobs and dedicated their lives to this. It's crazy. So a lot of things have transpired and beautiful things have grown from this. We've learned how to operate a system and feed and take care of each other and clothe each other, and they hate that. They don't even like that. I wear riot on my hat, not because we're trying to instigate a riot or start problems, because when they start shooting us with stuff for no apparent reason right in our face and hurting us and hitting us while we're feeding, we hold it down. We play the last man standing like, you know, they do like at big cowboy events where they sit in the middle and the last dude's there, the bull tries to hit them.
Because their parents and their moms and dads broke up from arguing, being stuck in their house with face masks on their face, and they're losing their jobs and they don't have nothing to eat, and they're coming down here, and all we're doing is trying to feed people and take care of people, and you guys can see it, man. It's out there. It's love. You know what I mean? I think as a people, if we lose sight and start fighting and arguing with each other, they win. They win if we fight each other. That's what they want. And I've seen on a bigger picture what they've done to black people in the community. They tore us down to get us to fight each other and cause problems. They did it on a smaller scale, and it was crazy to watch it unfold. We start fighting each other, then they move in, they take position, and that's what they've been doing this whole time. They've got us fighting each other. We need to come together as people, assist each other at right now to show each other that we can do this and pull through this shit. The small things you guys do trickle, you know. It's amazing. We get people that stop down here that have money, that don't have money, all different walks of lives, and they're blown away by the stuff that we're doing. And like I said, the smallest things help. It trickles down, and all together, small things make one big impact and send a shockwave across the country that we know how to do it, and Portland's gonna stay down until we figure something out.
There was something that we called the sacred fence. And there was some protesters and some police with paychecks and gear. And we had a little talk, and we threw around the term restorative justice. And the police cut off everything we tried to say, but the following day they took down the sacred fence. And the other night, we have a second fence that isn't so sacred. I've been fighting with people and feeling betrayed and vulnerable all of my fucking life, and I'm sick of people wasting my time and energy. I've been here since day one. I've been fighting for housing for 20 plus years. This is a little bone from God to me to get up on this fucking microphone. Yes, I said fucking microphone. Can we protect people? There's babies on this street every night. I mean, little people. I had a 7-year-old tell me the other night that she was a grown woman, told me to go back to my nursing home. So Kate Brown said she thought that we needed some dialogues. And I guess this is a hell of a lot better than an email. We do need a dialogue with the police and the politicians and people. You guys are here to serve. Can we stop protecting properties and protect people? Little ones, and they're here to do damage. There's gangs, and there's a whole bunch of people getting ready to be homeless. I got you. But that's coming.
Excuse me. Here. You were not on the agenda. I'm sorry. Thank you for speaking your piece. This is our attorney. One of our attorneys.
I'm John Schlosser. I'm a local criminal defense attorney, civil rights attorney. And yesterday I was reached out to about a potential client, one of the people who were kidnapped by the minivans. It took me all of an hour using and my limited resources to determine that the vans that are taking people are rental vans. The federal government doesn't go out and rent minivans to enact whatever it is that they're doing. So these people are either federal contractors or just people out there nabbing people off of the street. And it took me an hour to figure that out. U.S. Marshals made an announcement yesterday that they were looking into this. They have way more power than I do. They could have figured that out, contacted the rental company and figured out who is doing this to our citizens by now. Why haven't they?
I'm about to go cook some food, so when y'all done over here, please slide through. So it's Riot Ribs. Please do support. Riot Ribs are over here on the corner now. They push us out of the park. Man, it's unreal. Like I said, we got a lot of kids that eat, and we just kick out a lot of food and clothing on a daily, and it's beautiful. We try to.
Repent and come to God. They need to give their life to Jesus and repent. God sent me here.
God sent me here. Do not be distracted. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! When Black lives are under attack, what do we do? When Black lives are under attack, what do we do? I said, what do we do? Black Lives Matter! 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 Let me say that this is what we mean. Mic check. Let me say that this is what we mean when we say that community protects us. There is no need to, as a lot of these people want to say, resort to violence. We're not worried about violence against the city or the property. We don't subscribe to violence against people. That's why we just de-escalated that person, escorted them out, and our people are going to make sure that he is safe and he is not put in danger. That's what we do. That's what white people are doing, putting their bodies on the front line, where they belong. Able-bodied people on the front lines defending our communities. Cis people on the front lines defending our communities. Black Lives Matter, and we're gonna get back to the agenda right now, folks.
I just want to say why it's important for y'all to show up. It's cool to be at home on your phones and type on your phone Black Lives Matter and post it and get the likes. It's cool to put that Black Lives Matter sign in your window or in your yard. It's cool to have a little sticker on your car. But the hate is real. I'm tired of being looked at like a bully or a thief or some sort of criminal simply because of the color of my skin. I heard someone say I have to be stronger than I should be because I'm black, and I'm tired of it. I need y'all to show up and support. Keep coming back. Keep this same energy. Come out tomorrow. Write some emails. Show up at City Hall. Write in Teresa Rayford. Show up for the people out here being abused in the streets. And I repeat myself, write in Teresa Rayford. I'm just a person born and raised in the city of Portland, and I'm tired of the hate. I'm glad to see all y'all here, but I'd love to see your face many times over because the revolution is rising. It's happening. Thank you for planting the seeds. Help us keep it growing. Fuck the police. Fuck the feds. Fuck you, Donald Trump. Take your goons out of Portland. Black Lives Matter.
Who's mayor? The people's mayor. Who's mayor? The people's mayor.
Hi y'all, I'm Ashley Albies. I represent Don't You Portland in their class action litigation against the city and the county. Thank you to each and every one of you who have taken to the streets, who have put your lives on the line, your bodies on the line, and standing up for what you believe in to make this world a better place, to make our city and our community a better place. As part of the litigation, as some of you know, we have a temporary restraining order which restricts the use of tear gas and restricts the use of certain impact munitions, the less lethal weapons, the pepper spray in the face, those sorts of things. If you have been injured by any of those weapons in the past 3 weeks, please go to the Don't Shoot Portland website, fill out a form, and let us know. We want to talk to you. We want to hear from you. We want you to be part of the litigation. Litigation and lawsuits alone are not going to address the issues that are plaguing our communities, but they are a piece of the puzzle, and we need you, and you need us, and we want to work together, and we want to work in conjunction, but it is people on the streets that are going to hold the government accountable. It's going to hold our elected leaders accountable. And you have that power, and you need to continue to assert it. And we got your back. Thank you.
My friends, my beloved, love, not violence, will build the city we want to live in. It's gonna take a lot of people in the streets demanding that love in its public form, which is justice, is the equal inheritance of each human soul. It's going to take a lot of clever litigation, and we are so glad to have so many smart litigators. And as a lawyer told me once after a meeting at City Hall, it's going to take a lot of pressure also on elected officials. It takes at least 3 arms to embrace justice. It takes us in the halls of power, in our streets, demanding day by day, justice must be justice for all, or it is not justice. Several years ago, when I was privileged to meet Teresa Rayford, it was because I had come to one of the gatherings after the murder by police of Quanice Hayes. She said to me, "Where are the faith people?" I said, "Well, we're here, but you can't really tell who we are. I don't get to wear a collar." So right after that, I went back to my friends in the Portland Interfaith Clergy Resistance and said, "We need to be seen." And so we got us these vests. A whole bunch of us run around downtown whenever there's turmoil in the streets, whenever somebody needs to stand up, whenever I need to remind Teresa that I heard her, and that this right here, right now, is the voice of God. You are the holy. You are the divine voice. Never mind, don't call it God, call it Goddess, call it the source of life. I don't care what you call it. You are voicing the prophetic truth that if we do not care for all equally, if we do not reach out to our vulnerable, if we do not respond when the blood of our sibling calls to us from the ground, this society is going to collapse of its own obscene filth. My friends, people of faith are out here not to lead, because this is your leadership we respond to. This is not the 60s, and I am not Dr. King, may he rest in peace. But I learned from him, and I learned from Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, who marched with him and said, "My feet are praying when I march with Dr. King. My feet are praying when I march with Teresa Rayford." Connection, community, caring for each other, being willing to stand in front of someone more vulnerable to you to shield them. Sometimes we all need it, sometimes we can give it. When all of us walk together on that path, we will get there. Some of us won't, but we as a people, we as the human race, are building something, God willing, that cannot be undone. God willing. Ladies and gentlemen, friends of all ages, companions, comrades, two-spirit, binary, children who have not yet begun to understand how hard this is, we are all grateful for the presence in our lives of this leader, friends, Teresa Rayford.
Thank you for caring about our community. Thank you for showing up. But I wanted to just say that we started this movement when President Obama was still in the White House. We knew that we were stolen people on stolen land through genocide, and that same patriarchy system was coming for us and anyone else in this community that was a part of the 99. When our movement started, it was to combine our communities so that we could build solidarity against the machine that only eats our children. We've been quantified, we've been criminalized, We've been detrimentally lied to by our politicians that we've stood up and stayed in contact with to make sure that they were elected because we trusted them. They have let us down to the detriment of public safety at this point. The fact that they're speaking out now does not take away the fact that they have not spoken out before. It does not make good the fact that they have never responded to us. It does not make good the fact that they knew we were out here screaming for our lives and that they never showed up to stand up in solidarity for Black lives. The fact that they care now because Donald Trump's military forces in our city only undermines our intellect because we know that they're trying to get elected. The fact that we know who they are, we should show them where we're going in November, period. This city belongs to the people. The will of the people is how the city operates. When we come together, the city rules in a way that protects the safety and the future of our children, not property. Property does not matter during a pandemic when people are dying because of a critical crisis. Attacking our solidarity and our mutual support of one another while maintaining an opportunity to poison us is irreparable harm. We should all be aware of what the information in the science report that we put on Don't Shoot Portland means and how that should accommodate any kind of opportunity you need to stand up and get justice. Look at the report, read the report, share the report, and at the same time, if you've been harmed at any time during this pandemic, please contact us so we can fight for you. We show up for our community. All lives do not matter until Black lives matter.
To use this moment. Now, I know that I am just a person. I want it to be known that a lot of people talk about me as the founder of Activism Actually and the like. That's a single person run platform that I founded out of my interest to help educate the community. I'm not a part of any major orgs or groups by position, but I would like to take this moment as someone who y'all claim to want to listen to formally endorse Teresa Rayford for mayor. Because the reality is, from the way that I see it, another white woman running for office because she hates Ted Wheeler is not going to be the person that we need to abolish the police and tear down the system. Instead, I want y'all to understand that the people that we need in office are the people who don't want to fucking be in office. What we need is we need the people who aren't going to hold their loyalty to their paycheck instead of to the people. It's why we need leaders who are willing to fight and dismantle the system from the inside, knowing that it might cost them their job or very well their life. I've talked too much in this goddamn city. A lot of us have been out here saying the same damn thing for year after year after year. What we need is the community education aspect, and we need y'all to be interested in it. Because education, research, and learning isn't hero's work in the eyes of the people. It isn't for some of you to think the best use of your privilege. But what I'm here to tell you is that you can and need to do both. Here's some things that I want y'all to understand as we stand here in this moment. All these people behind me, these black, brown, femme, and non-binary leaders are at risk. When we talk about invoking MLK's name, I instead want to talk about evoking Malcolm X's name. I want to talk about what we mean when we say by any means necessary. I want you to read these signs that I put up. The laws are not just. It is your duty to resist. Property damage does not equal violence, but white silence sure does. What we need is to fire the feds and abolish America as it is known, because we know that something that was built on faulty foundation cannot be left to stand. You cannot build something anew on the crumbling foundations of a society that is built on white supremacy, on genocide, on colonization. I want you to understand that you need to decolonize the fuck out of your train of thought. I want you to understand that what we need is, as we said, we do not need land acknowledgements. We need solidarity. We need you to honor, respect, and protect the people who put themselves on the line for you. What I want you to understand is that we've already made demands. We made them 3 years ago. We're going to make them again tomorrow. We made them again 4 months ago and last month too. Let me give you a reminder of some major things to touch on. Obviously, we want to defund, disarm, and disband the PPB, the state marshals, the federal police, etc. Abolish them all. We know that these are steps, these are abolitionist steps to take. These are not reformist steps to take. We don't need another fucking investigation. When we talk about abolishing the police, when we talk about what you are at risk of, when you talk about analyzing your risk assessment for arrest, I want you to understand that when you get arrested, where does the state put you? In a cage. It's why we don't need to spend more time trying to call the police on people who harm us. It's why we don't need to spend more time hoping that the fascists will take the other fascists and people we don't like away. What it means when we say abolition is we mean abolition of the prison industrial complex too. For a brief second, I want you to think about all of y'all wearing masks in this crowd and imagine the prisoners being denied them in cages. You know, a close friend of mine just recently got out of prison for 2 years. Why? Because he was a political protester. Why? Because he made the state scared. And what did he experience? The same violence that the entire state is built upon. I want you to remember that if you are black, you are at risk of death upon arrest. I want you to remember that if you are trans, you are fucking susceptible to death on arrest. I want you to understand that disabled people, like the deaf and hard of hearing community who cannot fucking hear commands to begin with, and we know the state doesn't care about accessibility in the first place, they are at risk of violence. We are at risk of violence. Nothing will protect you. I promise you. Unless you're a skinny, white, cis woman. In which case, they'll do everything they can to hunt down the people who allegedly hurt you, whether your tears are fake or not. Let's talk about some specific demands. Can we get a de-escalation team to the crowd, please? Hey, hands off now. Hands up. Hands up, don't shoot. I want y'all to center here, please. Our de-escalation team is working on it. Again, this is what we mean when we say we protect us. Yeah, so the person filming right now is LaDawn. Hey, LaDawn. You're not welcome here. We know you're a white supremacist. Hiding in the crowd doesn't work, LaDawn. Please follow the de-escalation team as they escort you out. All right. Let's recognize how many people we need to take care of. One. Let's recognize how many people we need to take care of. One not strong white woman. As many people as are available can come back to the crowd to listen, because we know that we have people who know what they're doing, and we're thankful for them. All right, let's talk about all the unoccupied state-owned buildings that could be repurposed for the houseless community. Let's talk about the city investing money in community gardens and food sovereignty projects. Let's talk about the city investing money in the disability community. I want you to understand that when we say intersectionality, we mean not just the disabled community, but the multi-marginalized disabled community, the folks who are disabled and black and brown and queer. We need to call on the city to do the bare fucking minimum at least, and make sure that interpreters are always available. We need to make sure that they put their money where their goddamn mouth is and start paying black and brown people to become interpreters. What they need to do is defund and dismantle the pipelines. They need to end the conditional use permit that protects the ICE building on McAdam, because we know that conditional use permit has been broken. The terms of that contract have been violated, and the city continues to stay silent about the need to put pressure on the person who owns this building and rents it out to the federal government, and also has a shit ton of other businesses here in Portland that y'all should stop giving money to. I can't remember his goddamn name right now.
Stuart Lindquist.
Stuart Lindquist. Fuck you, Stuart Lindquist. What we need to do is stop sweeps on the houseless community. We need to talk about intersectionality in the houseless community. We need to talk about people who are black, brown, queer, trans, disabled, have mental health issues, and are also houseless. We need Kate Brown to stop sitting on her ass and instate a statewide moratorium on evictions. We need the city of Portland to once again put their money where their goddamn mouth is, and if they can't keep up with unemployment claims, how about they create some goddamn brand new jobs for black and brown folks and speed up the system to make sure everybody else is getting paid the fuck too? We need to talk again about Calpino putting his money where his goddamn mouth is and investing in BIPOC communities, and not big BIPOC reformists like fucking Joanne Hardesty, who can also give up her goddamn seat. Fuck everyone. I want us to understand that no reformist will save us. That includes Sarah Ingram just as much as it includes Joanne Hardesty, just as much as it includes Chloe Eudaly, just as much as it includes fucking Kate Brown, as much as it includes our senators, as much as it includes every elected fucking official in the city, because who do we see doing abolitionist work? Nobody but the people. I've been told that Mike Schmidt is in the crowd. Mike, you here? I hope Mike is here. If he's not here, I hope someone passes this message along to him. I know that we talked before when we were at a panel for the Oregon DA for the People event, where they interviewed all of the DA candidates. I know that Mike talked a big game. And I'm interested to see if he's going to fulfill with it. I want Mike Schmidt to immediately decriminalize sex work and share how he did. mantle. We got more demands. I want him to immediately decriminalize sex work and also share how he will be working with Oregon DA for the People on their first 100 Days campaign to make sure that Mike hears, understands, and has all of the tools for success to comply with the people's demands. I want Mike Schmidt to raise a voice to support releasing prisoners because abolition or bust. I want y'all to understand that when we talk about privilege, we need to talk about all the privileges and how they intersect. We need to talk about all the disadvantages and the oppressive systems and how they intersect. I want to tell a quick story real quick before I leave this microphone. I want y'all to know that I am a half white, half black, Afro-Indigenous, non-binary, queer, sex-working, high femme person. Now a lot of people want to say that all those identity politics will tear us apart, but instead what I want you to understand is that I've been learning how to survive in this system since the moment I was born. It's always been a fight. It will always be a fight. As I get older, my body will fail me. When we talk about making sure that we invest in the disability community, so heads up y'all, just on that note, helpful information, but I want you to remember that there are plainclothes officers in this crowd. Not just plainclothes officers. All right, I understand y'all, but let's talk about it real quick. Let's talk about the fact that we are facing off against the feds. You know, fuck my story. Instead, I want to give y'all a little bit of advice before I step back. Let's talk about COINTELPRO. This is the way that the government launches counterinsurgency efforts. An insurgency is a fancy, ableist, classist word for an uprising. What they want to do is they want to stop us by any means possible. If y'all don't understand this and you retain information best through audio and visual learning, I want you to look up the documentary on Netflix about Malcolm X's murder. I want you to understand that the person who gave him mouth to mouth as he sat bleeding on the stage he was assassinated on was an informant. I want you to understand how deep this shit goes. None of you are safe from the state. None of you. Not me, not y'all. I want you to know that what they want from you is a panic. What they want you to do is say, hey, there's a cop in the crowd, and then they want you to all look at each other with suspicious eyes and go, which the fuck one of you is the cop? But you know what? They got more money, more training, more psychological fucking warfare tactics than a lot of y'all even understand. I'm not going to say any of us, because a lot of us have been preparing for this for years. I want you, if you have Twitter, to go take a look at my pinned tweet. It has a whole shit ton of links to zines and educational resources on direct action, anarchist action, protecting your community, how to deal with COINTELPRO. I want you to understand that a part of COINTELPRO, a part of these counterinsurgency efforts, are something called PSYOPs. Any of y'all know what PSYOPs are? No? A few. I see a few heads nodding. So PSYOPs is something that the government does specifically to get into your head. This shit is planned, it's targeted, and it's strategic. The history of it is deep and varied. It has been deployed across the world. When they tear gas you every night, they want you to get tired. They want you to be in fear. I want you to understand that fear is a healthy aspect of your psychological system, but I want you to take that fight or flight response and I want you to hone it. I want you to train it. I want you to understand that we are stronger together. I want you to understand that instead of running when the police come up on you, I want you to study protest tactics across the world. I want the people in the front to be cis, able-bodied white people linked arms with shields. I want a few fucking rows of that shit. I want the people behind them to also be privileged as fuck people. I want y'all holding umbrellas to bounce the fucking fucking tear gas canisters off the tops of our heads. You know, if you got an umbrella and you're standing behind someone with a shield, you sure could protect them with that, couldn't you? I want you to understand that when we say stay together, stay tight, we mean link your goddamn arms and stay together and stay tight, shoulder to shoulder. If you have to move, walk, don't run. I want y'all to know that one of the reasons that none of us trust Rose City Justice is that they don't have the education in the background to keep y'all safe. Because let me tell you, real quick, let me give you an example. You remember that time that they marched y'all across the Burnside Bridge and sat you down? Yeah, a lot of people remember that crowd of thousands of people, a lot of people sitting on the bridge. Do y'all know what a kettle is when police surround you? They make a wall around you. They deploy units that you can't see from every corner, and they swarm you. They trap you so you cannot escape. Now imagine that on a bridge. You're either gonna go through cops one way, go through cops another way, or you're gonna get trampled the fuck off the bridge when people panic. Bridges are not safe places to sit and wait for police repression. Y'all are gonna kill people. Like, this is the tactical information that I'm talking about. This is why we say you cannot just put all of your trust and faith into these young people. Instead, what you need to do is you need to find the people who have these tactical analyses. People like Care Not Cops, people like Snack Block, people like Don't Shoot Portland, people like Direct Action Alliance, people like Revolution Uprising. I want you to, instead of following what these children that don't have the experience they sorely want to know, and lead them to the people who can teach them and help them. I want you to understand that we cannot be a movement. You know, I saw, a mostly irrelevant anarchist, misogynist in town tweeting about how he doesn't trust new people. It's the same shit that he pulled when I entered the scene, and that's why he called me a cop. But you know what? People who believe in this movement don't just cop jacket people with no proof. Because we know that cops are here, we know informants are in the crowd, and we know that if you ain't got proof for that shit, what you're doing is putting a target on someone else's back. Instead, what I want you to understand is that none of y'all should be calling people a goddamn cop if you don't have some goddamn hard evidence. That is a personal attack on a person's life and safety. What I want you to understand is we need to be welcoming people in and letting them prove themselves through their actions. If you are new to a goddamn uprising, you better not try to lead the charge. Instead, you need to walk up and say, what do I need to learn? That's how you prove that you are ready to enter into this movement. You understand that you don't know it all, myself included. You know, I went down to the border in 2018/19, right when the asylum seeker caravan came up here. And a couple other Portlanders that I ran into down there. When we talk about federal repression, I really can't say enough that the state will do everything they can to terrify, neutralize, and immobilize you. We see it with the lawyer who just came up here and told us that these rental vans, we don't know who the fuck they are. But you know what? They sure are banking on the fact that y'all are terrified enough of the police to go along with it. I want you to understand, as much as I don't hold any fucking faith in the law, what we do need to understand is that there are laws that supposedly protect you from unwarranted violence. You have the right to stand up for yourself, allegedly. Now, we know that this might not hold up in the proof of court, but does it mean that one of our comrades are not going to get disappeared into the night, like the organizers in Ohio, like the organizers of the Ferguson movement? 7 to 8 black leaders disappeared. Like the young woman out of Minneapolis just fucking murdered. This is not a game. 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 Y'all are risking your lives, and I'm thankful, but I'm fucking terrified. Because what I need you to understand is that we need to do the research more. If you have the capacity, if you don't have autism or ADHD, and you have neurotypicality, and you're able to do research, do that research and share it. I want you to stop putting the expectations on others and be empowered to help yourselves. That's what this movement is about. Community takes care of us. You all have a role. If you are not downtown at night, maybe you can A lot of people will post cops coming from this direction. Could you text a friend now? Could you spend your time at home looking for these zines? I said it right. I always say I read it as zines the first time. Sorry, this is a big deal. I said it right in front of a big crowd. I need you to be compiling this information and sharing it not just online, but with your friends. I swear it's just weed. Also, on that note, weed is still a federal crime. Stop carrying it with you down here, because if you get picked up by the feds, they're going to charge you with a federal fucking crime. Did you know that? I bet a lot of you didn't. I need you to understand the feds are a different level. I don't see any speakers behind me, so I'm just going to keep teaching y'all stuff as you're down here. Okay, let's talk about the munitions being used against us. Let's talk about the tear gas, the expired tear gas. Let's talk about the fact that we are wearing them out and using their supplies. Let's talk about the fact that they don't have the capacity to be out here forever. They'll keep on calling more people in, and you know what? So will we. But let's talk about the tear gas. So tear gas is something that affects your body in a myriad of ways. So let's talk about the immediate effects, right? You're gonna snot up, your eyes are gonna shut to protect themselves, your face and your skin that is exposed is going to burn. That's why we say rinse with water, water. Water, water, water. Water, 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 water. Stop telling people that water isn't safe, that shit is a lie. Stop telling people to use milk. Milk can harbor bacteria. You pour that shit into your eyes, you are asking for an eye infection. Let's talk about the fact that not all of us have access to medical grade saline. So instead, water, 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 water. I want you to make sure that if you are being treated for tear gas, you take out your contacts before you do so, because that's shit. If you wear contacts, you know what's gonna happen. If you pour water on contacts, they're gonna fuck around. They might get embedded in your eye, or worse. Let's talk about the deep effects. A lot of people with uteruses here, I say people with uteruses because it's transphobic as fuck to say women and femmes. Let's talk about the people with uteruses who are experiencing early periods. Not only early, but frequent. Let's talk about the effects that takes on the body. You know how it's doing that? Because when y'all look, I'm hot as shit right now, but if I get tear gas, not much of it is going to hit my skin. Because you know what happens when it hits my skin? It gets absorbed into my bloodstream. You know what happens then? It has to be cycled through my liver. Y'all can't be partying after the protest because your liver's already running overtime trying to rid you of the toxins flowing inside your body deployed on you by the U.S. government. Let's talk about the fact that some of them are expired. Now, I don't have 100% confirmation on this, but from some very, very trusted comrades, they were talking about how some studies state that the explosive mechanism, the trigger mechanism that is in the tear gas canister will often erode before the agents, the chemical agents inside, go bad. So I don't want y'all to necessarily be like, oh, expired tear gas. If it's a decade plus, sure. But instead, I really got to stop taking so many dabs before I come to protest. But instead, I want y'all to understand that these things are unpredictable and dangerous. Don't hold undeployed things in your hands, please. Don't pick them up. Don't take pictures like that. Post a picture on the street. Figure out if you can kick it somewhere away and see if it deploys. You know, who could be a good target to test that on? I don't know. I'm not going to say shit up here right now, but I bet y'all can think of some options. Take a picture and get it away from you. Let's talk about the impact munitions, the less than lethal stuff. I want y'all to make sure you understand these things are not less than lethal unless used in a very particular way. And less than lethal does not mean nice. It does not mean soft or casual or easy. Instead, what it means, as much pain as they can inflict on you without killing you, unless they shoot you in the head with it, in which case it's a moot point. Things that you need to be aware of visually. The cops around you, communicate. The uniformed officers, make sure everybody knows where they're at. Keep your head on a swivel like I've been doing this whole time. Make sure that you understand that you need armor. We're not at the point where y'all can be out here without armor anymore. I got a backpack over here. Let me grab it. This is what I carry to actions. I got a helmet. I got a backpack full of medic supplies. I got some fucking forearm guards because if they fucking hit me with a baton, that shit's not gonna feel nice, but maybe this will soften the blow a little bit. Let's talk about the respirator that I had and how we all need access to these. Be a good place to put your money where your mouth is, especially white people, because I want y'all to understand that ordering shit online puts you at risk. The federal government is taking pictures of the brand labels on your shoes. I saw a really cool trick online today that I'm gonna try the next time I go out for like a direct action type shit. Where I'm building a block up. That was take silver duct tape and put it over the tops of your shoes and it'll reflect the light from the cameras that the feds are using. And they can't see what logos you got. They gotta track you down by the pads that are on, you know, your fucking foot, your footprints. That's just way harder than taking a picture. I want you to understand that if you've got black shit and it's got a fucking logo on it, like this shit, turn it inside out. Turn it inside out and wear it. Do not be identifiable as much as possible. Now, I know I look like a hypocrite right now, not in block and all that shit, but I say again that, like, I've already got a file. I'm waiting to be killed by the government. It's why you don't see me out here that much. You don't go on CNN and say, abolish the United States, and not have a file on you. I got detained at the border for 5 hours, coming back into the States after helping migrants. I want you to remember that when you get detained, do not answer their questions and do not lie either. Lying is a federal fucking crime, the bullshit, despite the fact that the cops can lie to you. It's why we say do not talk to cops, ask if you're free to go, tell them you want to speak to a lawyer, tell them you have no comment, don't talk to the cops. Let's talk about more things I want you to have with you. Make sure you got water down here, make sure you eat a meal before you come. I did another thread on Twitter lately. I'm working on reamping the website.
I gotta get going.
I'm sorry.
It's time to go to Maker Force.
Accessible social media sites for now.
I do see some other streams going.
I did a thread about risk assessment.
Thanks
I
for
want you to be
watching,
aware
and we'll be
of
back
all of
again.
We've found is that oftentimes these long-term